guess I didn't say. What are you looking so sad about, Jam?
Man, I'm surprised at you. I mean, I'm really insulted. I mean, that's not right what you just said.
What do you mean, what I just said?
I mean, I'm getting a drink of water. I'm late getting home, but you talking. I said something about the greatest heavyweight champ, man. I'm a hometown man, and you talking about Joe Louis, man. Joe Louis wouldn't be nothing for me. Joe, I tell you, Joe, do you think you would have stood a chance with me?
Well, Clay, one time during my career, I brought a bomber one tour.
I would have been a bum compared to you.
What's happening, my people? It's Cast Sports again, back for another afternoon with the family. That's right. You know what time it is. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Boxtorian, bringing you all that boxing history. Boxing is the greatest sport of them all. That's why we love it. Can't get enough of it. Salute to everyone and welcome to another episode of Cast Sports, the Boxtorian. Today, boxing in Canada. Yes, it's Thursday. Time for our look at another country. Going around the world in alphabetical order. It's Canada today. Thomas Hill in the building. Lou T. Hill. A look at boxing in Canada today. We're going to look at a little history of boxing in Canada and some other significant events. Like some fights up there, the 76 Olympics is up there in Canada. And we're going to look at some of the great boxers that came from Canada today. All that on Cast Sports, the Boxtorian, bringing you all that boxing history. This Thursday, getting close to the weekend. I think we got a lot of fighting going on this weekend. I think we got some Friday night fights this week. But the two big cards again are Nick Ball versus Sam Goodman from Australia, Raymond Ford versus Abraham Nova, and then we got a card, Moses Atama versus Dillian White. Big step up for Moses. I think he'll probably pass the test. But that is a good stern test for the youngster. His biggest fight to date. And we are getting close. Yes, I appreciate you, Thomas Hill. Okay, but first, to start the show off, let's get into the fight of the day today. So now, without further ado, today's fight of the day. And the fight of the day today is Marvin Hagler versus John the Beast Mugabe. Marvelous tames a dangerous beast. Marvelous tames a dangerous beast. August 14th, 2000. Oh, I got the wrong fight up. Yeah, Marvelous Marvin Hagler versus John the Beast Mugabe. I don't know why it keeps going off for me. Yeah, this was in the 80s. Hagler versus Mugabe. We're going to get into the fight of the day in one moment. Okay? But marvelous tames a dangerous beast. That's what happened. And I mean, the beast was dangerous. He was just coming off the Hearns fight, remember? So let's get into it. The fight of the day. Marvelous Marvin Hagler versus John the Beast Mugabe. March 10th, 1986 was when this fight occurred. Okay? Now, almost a full year had passed since the fight, the war. The huge event that was Marvelous Marvin Hagler versus Thomas the Hitman Hearns for the undisputed middleweight title. But no one could forget it. That 3-round scorcher in April of 1985, which saw Hearns and Hagler pack an incredible amount of action and drama into just 8 minutes before Tommy hit the deck and a bloodied Marvin raised his arms in triumph. It was still a vivid memory for all who witnessed it. Now, the obvious big money match to be made in 1986 was Hagler versus Hearns 2. Okay, yeah. Because that fight they had, everybody wouldn't mind seeing that again. So the obvious big money fight to be made after that was Hagler versus Hearns 2. That was the cover of Sports Illustrated after that fight. But while Tommy and Marvin had put on an extraordinary show, the ending had been definitive and conclusive. The marvelous one was the better man. So, to make the rematch a monumental event, the public needed to see both in action again, both back in the winner's circle. In other words, a little marinating was in order. And so, almost a full year after the famous 8 Minutes of Fury called The War, the pair returned to the ring on the same night and in the same stadium, Caesars Palace in Las Vegas, Nevada, but not against each other. Not against each other. However, both were facing serious challenges to set up their second showdown. Undefeated, James Black Gold Schuler, the current USBA champion, was set to battle the Hitman. But the main event was an even more tantalizing matchup. The undisputed middleweight champion would be defending his title against one of the most exciting knockout artists to emerge in quite some time. The fighter they called the Beast. Yep, Hagler was going up against the fighter they called the Beast. Here he is. John Mugabe, an undefeated Ugandan warrior with some seriously heavy hands, has scored a series of impressive stoppage wins on national television to establish himself as a legit threat to anyone at 154 or 160 pounds. His knockouts of Curtis Parker, James Hard Rock Green, Frank the Animal Fletcher, and Earl Hargrove were highlight reel fodder, and the prospect of such a dangerous puncher going up against the battle-hardened Hagler had fight fans drooling in anticipation. Lucky for them, Hagler versus Mugabe more than lived up to the expectations, bypassed expectations. It was a chilly March night in Vegas, but Thomas Hearns added some heat when he held up his end in terms of setting the scene for Hagler vs. Hearns 2 super fight with a spectacular knockout win. Barely a minute into the opening round, Tommy struck with the speed and suddenness of his namesake, the Hitman, or the Motor City Cobra, smashing home his deadly right hand on the jaw of James Schuler and deciding the fight in an instant. Philadelphia's Black Gold went down hard and took the full 10 count. The fight was over in just 73 seconds. The Hitman held up his end of the bargain. Okay, that's what the main event and the co-main that night. Hagler versus the Beast, Hearns versus Black Gold Schuler. What's up, Mike Graham in the building? Fight of the day, Marvelous Marvin Hagler versus John the Beast Mugabe. So they was trying to set up Hagler versus Hearns too. They fought on the same night, same venue, same card. Hearns versus James Black Gold Schuler was the co-main. Hagler versus John the Beast Mugabe was the main event. So Hearns held up his end of the bargain. He got Schuler out of there in 73 seconds. So now it was Hagler and the Beast's turn. I just got caught, said Schuler later. There's no excuse. When he hit me with the first right hand, I thought, shoot, I can take it from him. And then he hit me again. I guess I was wrong. Tragically, Schuler would be killed in a motorcycle accident just 10 days later. Just 10 days after that fight, he was killed in a motorcycle accident. So, sooner than expected, Mugabe and Hagler were called upon to enter the ring. And the sold-out crowd cheered loudly for the man universally acknowledged as the best fighter in the game, pound for pound. And the Marvelous One was pound for pound number 1 at that time. Marvelous Marvin, in tremendous condition as always, his muscular frame and shaved head exuding menace, paced about the ring like a caged panther. It was clear he couldn't wait to pounce on his prey. Meanwhile, watching Hagler versus Mugabe from ringside with keen interest was one Sugar Ray Leonard, the ex-champion, who had fought only once in the last 4 years. Yes, Sugar Ray was watching with interest. Sonny Boy Boxing in the building. Salute Sonny Boy Boxing. How are you today? Marvelous Marvin Hagler versus John the Beast Mugabe. Fight of the day. Let's salute to Sonny Boy Boxing. Appreciate you. Okay. Right from the opening bell, Mugabe, who up to this point had campaigned exclusively at 154 pounds, he made it known he could hang with the best middleweight on the planet, showing no reluctance at all to mix it up with Hagler. The Beast came forward fearlessly, winning the opening round with solid blows from either hand and a heavy jab, taking advantage of the Southpaw champion's inexplicable decision to commence hostilities in the orthodox stance. Okay, that's the same thing he did later against Sugar Ray. Started out orthodox. Okay? So the Beast won the opening round. Took advantage of Hagler coming out there orthodox to start out. But in round 2, Marvelous Marvin became a left-hander again and immediately started tagging Mugabe with a stiff right lead. Midway through the second round, the pace picked up as both men let their hands go and landed solid blows. The Beast pressing forward, throwing bombs. The slugfest was on, and to the surprise of many, Mugabe was more than holding his own. But by the end of round 3, Hagler had found his rhythm, snapping home that southpaw jab as he moved to his right, away from Mugabe's dangerous right hand. Yeah, that was good strategy. Go away from that left. Marvelous. Round 4 saw the champion gaining control with his quicker hands, but the Beast showed he could take Hagler's best shots without flinching, eating those right hands and firing right back. At the end of the round, the Beast landed the hardest blow of the fight thus far, a flush right uppercut that snapped back Marvin's glistening bald dome. And at the bell, he stopped Hagler in his tracks again with a heavy right hook to the temple. Yeah, the Beast was doing his thing early. This tone was set early for a great fight. Hagler versus Mugabe was, thus far, a fierce and exciting battle, but it went to another level in round 6, the turning point of the struggle. Mugabe sought to overwhelm Marvelous Marvin as he unleashed one devastating shot after another, but it was Hagler who jolted the Ugandan with a vicious left hand. Astonishingly, the challenger responded by picking up the pace, throwing big hooks with both fists. Hagler, in turn, closed the distance to unload some heavy artillery of his own to both head and body. But more than one shot strayed below the belt, and just as Mugabe seemed to be rocked back on his heels, referee Mills Lane paused the action to issue Hagler a warning. The Hagler was starting to go low quite a bit, so Mills Lane stopped the action and issued a warning. Hagler had kind of like not hurt but stunned the Beast when Mills Lane stopped it to give him the warning. The brief respite aided Mugabe, but Marvin went right back to work, landing a series of right hooks that had his quarry staggering about the ring. Amazingly, the Beast rebounded in the last 30 seconds of the round, and what ensued was sheer courage as the two warriors went toe-to-toe, guns blazing, both throwing and catching huge shots as the crowd stood and roared. Yeah, the crowd stood and roared. They ended that round in style. But that ferocious round took a heavy toll on the challenger. The Beast continued to battle valiantly, but his legs now seemed sodden and heavy, as if stuck in quicksand, and his punches became increasingly wide. The referee Mills Lane helped out the challenger again with an interruption to deduct a point from Marvin for low blows. A questionable call, but the rest of round 7 featured more brutal toe-to-toe warfare, with Marvin's straighter, quicker shots giving him the edge. Yeah, Mills Lane saved the Beast again. Hagler had him in a little trouble. Mills stopped it and took a point this time. Okay. Round 8 saw no let-up in the action as the Beast landed solid body blows and sought again to trade on the inside as Hagler consistently beat his man to the punch. finding the distance he needed to land flush right hands. It was clear the Marvelous One enjoyed a commanding lead, but at the same time, a nasty lump was ripening under his right eye. And near the end of round 9, it was Mugabe who opened up with a series of hard right hands. Yeah, Mugabe ended round 9 strong. The pace quickened yet again in the 10th. Both fighters getting home heavy shots upstairs and downstairs. But soon enough, Hagler had regained control, landing hard body blows on the inside and forcing Mugabe to retreat. Marvelous Marvin's sheer physical strength was now dictating the terms as the beast, his tired legs faltering, searched in vain for a second win. Round 11 was Mugabe's last stand, and no one could ever say he lacked for heart or courage. As he struggled to keep his balance and fight back, Hagler ruthlessly pressed his advantage, continually marching forward, working on the inside like an expert bricklayer, methodically putting one short, sharp blow after another in place, and in the process, slowly but surely, stealing away what was left of the challenger's stamina. Yeah, Marvin started pressing him to the body because the beast's legs were just about gone by that point. Gotta stop hitting the thing on buttons, man. Yeah, there we go. And down goes the beast. Okay. Finally, the last of 3 consecutive right hands buckled the beast's legs and sent him stumbling backwards. 2 more rights landed and the challenger fell into the ropes and collapsed. He rose to a sitting position as referee Lane told to count, but that's all he could manage. Exhaustion and an accumulation of heavy punishment from an all-time great middleweight kept the beast on the canvas. But it must be said, only after giving Marvelous Marvin one hell of a fight, a brawl to remember. Indeed, Hagler vs. Mugabe would prove to be one of the year's most exciting battles. Considering Mugabe's sheer power and his spirited effort, this stands as one of the late great Marvelous Marvin Hagler's most impressive efforts. His last truly marvelous performance. He showed it all: heart, power, strength, accuracy, amazing durability, and smart tactics. He won almost every round as he broke his adversary down with ruthless efficiency, risking heavy punishment to give boxing fans an action-packed Donnybrook and a conclusive finish. All right, there you have it, the fight of the day. Marvelous Marvin Hagler and the Beast. And yet, this was the fight that convinced an observer at ringside named Ray Charles Leonard that now was the time to step forward and give boxing the dream fight it had wanted for years. Marvelous Marvin Hagler versus Sugar Ray Leonard. The stage and the timing had supposedly been set for Hagler versus Hearns too, but Ray spoiled those carefully laid plans. At first, Marvelous Marvin, perhaps still hurting from a brutal slugfest with the Beast, demurred, but a record payday beckoned, and eventually the contracts were signed as Thomas Hearns filmed on the sidelines. The biggest fight in boxing was on, but it was an action-packed and punishing slugfest, Hagler versus Mugabe, that made it possible. Fight of the day, Mugabe versus Hearns. The Beast. Yeah, they were setting up the rematch between Hagler and Hearns, but then Sugar Ray was commentating that fight from ringside. He thought Hagler had lost some steps because the Beast gave him such a tough battle, and that's when Sugar Ray jumped back in there and challenged Hagler. We would have got Hearns Hagler too, but Sugar Ray ruined it. Okay, so now we're going to talk about boxing in Canada today. Okay. Boxing in Canada. We're doing a country every Thursday. Okay. Pardon me for one moment, please. While I do that. Okay. Just one moment. I shall return. Okay, I had to get some light. Got to go to my notebook. Here we go. Light, camera, action. Okay. How's everyone this Thursday afternoon? The profile tomorrow is Prince Nassim Hamed. The life and career of Prince Nassim Hamed tomorrow. Okay? Should be a good one. And then don't forget Monday, Trilogy Day. We got a good one this week. We got Marco Antonio Barrera versus Eric Morales trilogy. That's Monday. Okay, we've had some good ones. We started with the granddaddy of all trilogies, Ali Frazier. Then we had Mickey Ward, Arturo Gatti. This week and next week, Barrera versus Morales. Had a lot of good trilogies. We're going to be on these trilogies for a while. But today, now, boxing in Canada. But yeah, good action this weekend. We all got, I think that might be the fight of the weekend. Raymond Ford versus Abraham Nova. That should be a good one. Some people saying Ford could start. I think Ford will get the decision. And Nick Ball and Sam Goodman should be a good one. Nick Bowling Ball. Y'all think Tom are going to first pass his biggest test to date against Dillian White? I think so. I got Tom getting them out of there late middle round, 8 or 9-ish, something like that, 8 or 9-ish, 8th or 9th round. Yeah, I got Tom finishing it. But meanwhile, it should be a good battle. Dillian will give the youngster a good fight. Yeah. And then we go forward from there. But Tom will get past this one. He might be ready to get in there with the big boys. Not the Usyks and all them, not yet, I don't think. But let's talk about boxing in Canada now, okay? Little history first. Boxing around the world, okay? Boxing in Canada. Excuse me. Now, boxing in Canada has a long and rich history, evolving from illegal bare knuckles fights in the pre-Confederation era to a respected sport with both amateur and professional circuits. Now, early boxing was often linked to military garrisons, and the first Canadian to win a world heavyweight title was Tommy Burns in 1906. George Dixon, a black boxer from Nova Scotia, was a pioneer in the sport, becoming the first black world champion in any sport, right? Not just boxing, any sport. Boxing, basketball, football, hockey, soccer, dodgeball, kickball, tennis, golf, any sport. George Dixon was the first black athlete to win any type of world title. Now here's a more detailed look at the history of boxing in Canada. The early days, pre-Confederation and bare knuckle era. Boxing existed in Canada before Confederation in 1867, with bare knuckle fights taking place in remote areas, despite being illegal, right? Now, the Canadian Boxing Federation, or the CBF, it was established in 1925. The CBF aimed to unify provincial boxing commissions and foster recognition from U.S. boxing organizations. The Canadian Amateur Boxing, the Canadian Amateur Boxing Association, or the CABA, CABA, founded in 1969. The CABA regulated amateur boxing, oversaw national championships, and selected the Canadian Olympic team. Now, some notable boxers from Canada. We're going to go more deeper into the boxers later, but just briefly. Besides Tommy Burns and George Dixon, Other prominent Canadian boxers include George Chuvalo, the toughest boxer to ever step through the ropes, George Chuvalo, Lennox Lewis, Sam Lightfoot, and Bermain Stiverne. Now, women in boxing, we're also going to touch on women's boxing in Canada a little deeper later too. But women in boxing, briefly, are often associated with male combatants. Women also participated in boxing in Canada, both before and after Confederation. Recent development in boxing in Canada. In 2014, Bermain Stiverne became the first Canadian to win the WBC World Heavyweight Championship since Tommy Burns. Okay? Since Tommy Burns. Bear with me one more moment, please. Yeah, first Canadian since Tommy Burns. Yeah, Tommy. And remember, Tommy Burns was the man that lost Jack Johnson, and Jack Johnson became the first black heavyweight champion. That was Tommy Burns that he beat for that title. Okay? Good history of boxing in Canada today. Now, the first fights in Canada were bare knuckle fights. Now, gloves began appearing regularly around the turn of the century, primarily to protect the fists of the boxer rather than the fighter being hit. It was not unusual for Canadian fights before 1900 to be scheduled for 40 rounds. The early fights with gloves were said to be governed by the Marquis of Queensberry rules, though many think that reference was made to the Marquis to give the sport respectability. Now, early Canadian boxing was governed by each province, many of which outlawed its existence. It was frequently claimed that police interfered only when fights were not going the way the promoters intended. The military, especially in garrison towns such as Halifax, could hold fights, with rare exceptions, such as the Gentlemen's Sparring Club of Ottawa in the 1850s. Promoted fights were thought to be outlaw events. Now, Canadian boxing began its climb to respectability in the 1890s. Today, despite the controversy that surrounds the sport because of its violence, boxing draws large crowds in many Canadian cities. Most of its competitors have come from less affluent sections of big cities, such as Vancouver, Toronto, and Montreal, and from poorer areas such as the Maritimes. Okay? You know, just like most other places, come from the poorer areas, places like that. Now again, Technique in the building. What's up, Technique? Boxing in Canada today, Technique. Yeah. Going over a little history right now. Now, like we was talking about, the Canadian Amateur Boxing Association oversees 10 provincial boxing associations and one from each of the territories. While most excellent Canadian amateurs eventually turn pro, many retain their amateur standing and aim for specific goals such as the Olympics, World Amateur Champion, or the World Amateur Championships, the international competition. Bert Snyder, 1920, Lefty Gwynn, 1932, and Lennox Lewis, 1988, were Olympic gold medal winners from Canada. Sean O'Sullivan of Toronto gained Canada's first World Amateur Boxing Championship in 1981, winning the World Cup Amateur Boxing Junior Middleweight competition. O'Sullivan and Willie DeWitt of Grand Prairie, Alberta, won silver medals at the 1984 Los Angeles Olympics and went on to pro careers. David DeFragbon won a silver medal in the heavyweight division at the 1996 Atlanta Olympic Games. Boxer Adam Trupish represented Canada in 2008, but was defeated in the first round. In 1987, Michael Olaji Jr. lost a fight that would have given him the World Boxing Association title. Matthew Hilton of Montreal won the IBF middleweight title in October 1987, becoming the first Canadian world champion since Jackie Kalura of Hamilton in 1943. Later in 1987, another Canadian, Donnie Lalonde, became the World Boxing Council light heavyweight champion. Edmonton Scott Olsen won the International Boxing Organization's flyweight championship in 1997. Lennox Lewis, who returned to his native England after the 1988 Olympics, won the undisputed World Heavyweight Championship in 1999. In Canada, professional title fights are governed by the Canadian Professional Boxing Federation, with local commissions controlling other pro boxing. Okay? A little more history to go. I was going to take this down a little. This music just comes up by itself. I hope everybody's doing well. It's Thursday afternoon. Back to the weekend. We got Friday night fights this week. Yes. Yep. Friday night fights. Boxing around the world. Canada today. Yep, Canada Today technique. Okay. Here we go. Okay, let's look at a little bit more history. And then we're going to talk about the women's, some women boxing in Canada. We're going to talk about George Dixon. We got a good little thing on him. He was the first Black world champion in any sport. Okay. Now, state of boxing in Canada, revitalizing timeless combat sport. Okay. Now, boxing has always been one of the most exciting sports to watch. It's no surprise this combat sport draws a mammoth spectacle. As advanced as we are in technology and biology, we still resort to certain activities that appeal to our primal instincts. That's what makes boxing a sport we can't get tired of watching. That's why we love it, can't get enough of it. Canada happens to be one of the countries where this sport is popular. There are even several avenues for the citizens to show their love and interest in the sport. One notable means is by wagering on specific predictions about the event, right? With the rise of online betting platforms and the ease of access to information on fighters and fights, the popularity of betting on boxing and wrestling in Canada has only continued to grow. Now, for fans of the sport who want to add an extra layer of excitement to their viewing experience, bets on boxing and wrestling in casinos make it even better. And with top promotional video production companies showcasing the thrill and energy of the sport, there's never been a better time to join in on the fun. Online betting. Now, the sport has a rich, long, the online betting is big up there in Canada too. Okay. Now, some of the most popular venues in Canada used for boxing events include the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium Complex, Dartmouth Sportsplex, Genesis Center, Corona Theater, and the Windsor Arena. The Windsor Arena. Now, the popularity of boxing in online casinos in Canada. Let's take a look at that real quick. Popularity of online betting. Now, renowned historical figures such as Adam Braidwood, George Chuvalo, Lou Boyard, Trevor Berbick, and Tommy Burns are part of the lore. Now, Russian world light heavyweight champion Artem Beterbiev, who has become a Canadian citizen, former light heavyweight champion, has become a big name in boxing, right? And he's so it's fair to say boxing is very popular in Canada. However, most of the interest doesn't come from established or upcoming fighters, but from regular citizens who prefer to express their passion via video games, watching boxing matches, and betting on the outcome of such events. Now, sports betting is offered not only at sports books, but at online casinos as well. People can play their favorite online games and place bets at the same website, which is very convenient. Quattro Casino Canada offers great bonus for new players. You can claim up to 700 free spins, many payment options, and the opportunity to place bets. There are several predictions one can make in a boxing event. Online casinos that integrate sports betting into their content library have made these options available. Let's take a look at some of them. The outcome of the fight. In several casinos, players can wager on the precise outcome of the event. A boxing match usually ends in a decision, knockout, draw, disqualification, or TKO. So Canadians get to predict any of these options based on a number of factors. Who will win? This is a more direct prediction. Just like the outcome of the fight is based on how the fight ends. But the options are fewer here. You simply had to predict the boxer who will win the fight. It doesn't matter if the victory was acquired by disqualification, knockout, TKO, or decision. It counts regardless. This is much simpler. Another sport with a similar outcome is professional amateur wrestling. If you place, you have to make a similar decision. Just like in boxing, a fighter can secure a victory through disqualification, pinfall, or submission. Or you can bet on the total number of rounds. Okay? This prediction is based on the duration of the fight. A boxing event has 12 rounds. You win this wager if you predict the outcome to be concluded in a certain round, and it happens like that. Otherwise, the house wins. Okay? So, boxing may be less popular in Canada than it is in countries like the UK, United States, or Mexico, or Puerto Rico. However, online casinos can play a key role in its revitalization. With the integration of fighting events in the online platforms in Canada, the sport is bound to attain even more prominence. Okay, so now let's look at some women's boxing in Canada. Okay. Some women's boxing up there in Canada. Okay. Anybody come in? Women's boxing in Canada. Now, Canadian women boxers have achieved significant success in both amateur and professional boxing. Several notable fighters, including Murray Spencer, Mandy Bujold, and Tamara DeBow, have won multiple world and national championships. Women's boxing is increasingly recognized in Canada with events like the Canada Games, including female divisions. Now, some notable Canadian female boxers. Murray Spencer, a 3-time world champion, Pan American Games gold medalist, and 8-time national champion. Mandy Bujold, a 2-time Olympian and multiple-time national champion. Tamara DeBow, current World and Commonwealth Games champion, also won bronze at the World Championships and Pan American Games. Marie-Eve Dicaire, former IBF World Super Welterweight champion. Kim Clavel, former WBC Junior Flyweight champion. Ariane Fortin, 3-time Female Boxer of the Year by Boxing Canada. Charlie Kavanaugh, a rising star in Canadian boxing. Key achievements and recognition. The Canada Games. The 2023 Canada Games included female boxing divisions for the first time, with Talia Birch and Emily Bigno winning gold. Winning gold medals. World Championships. Canadian women have won multiple gold medals at the World Championships, including Tamara Thibault. The Pan American Games. Canadian women have achieved success in the Pan American Games, with Murray Spencer winning gold and Tamara Thibault improving from bronze to gold. The Commonwealth Games. Tamara Thibault is the reigning Commonwealth Games champion. Pro boxing. Canadian women boxers have also made their mark in professional boxing, with several holding world titles. Overall, Canadian women boxers have shown their talent and determination, contributing to the growth and recognition of women's boxing in Canada and internationally. Okay, so now we're going to talk about George Dixon, the first black athlete to win a world title, and he's Canadian. His nickname, he was nicknamed Little Chocolate. Yep, George Little Chocolate Dixon. Yep. So let's talk about George. George Dixon, Little Chocolate. Okay. And then we're going to talk about some other boxers from Canada, like Artur Beterbiev. He's originally from Russia, but he did become a Canadian citizen. Okay, bear with me for one moment, please. I don't know what's going on here. Okay, here we are. Little Chocolate, George Dixon. Pioneer in boxing. He was champion before Joe Gans, Jack Johnson, all of them. And he was from Canada. And there he is right here. Yep, there's Little Chocolate, George Dixon. Now what? Okay, here we go. Let's talk about it. Little Chocolate, George Dixon, that was his nickname. Okay. Okay. Little Chocolate. Now, the question is posed: who was the first black man to win a world boxing championship? And here are the likely replies: Jack Johnson, Joe Gans. While incorrect, these answers reflect the fact that, for reasons unknown, Johnson and Gans enjoyed greater renown than the man who in fact first broke the color barrier in boxing more than a century ago. In fact, the first black man to be recognized as a world champion was not Johnson or Gans, but one George Dixon from Nova Scotia, Canada, a true all-time great who was better known in some circles as Little Chocolate. Okay, better known as Little Chocolate. Mike Masick is in the building. What's up, Mike? How are you today? Looking at boxing in Canada. We're looking at George Dixon, famous Canadian boxer. Broke the color barrier back in the 1800s, was the first black man, not just boxing, to win any type of world championship. Like I said, golf, basketball, football, baseball, dodgeball, kickball, soccer, tennis, hockey, all of them. Any sport. Little Chocolate, George Dixon. Okay, let's salute Mike. How are you today? Now, born in the historic settlement of black loyalists and freed slaves near Halifax called Campbell Road, later to be named Africville, Dixon first became interested in boxing when assisting a photographer who took publicity shots for various pugilists and became fascinated with the stories he heard from various prize fighters. Soon enough, young George was stepping through the ropes to try his luck and see what kind of money he could make slinging leather. Dixon stood 5'3" tall and weighed all of 87 pounds when he began competing at the tender age of 16. Okay, 5'3", 87 pounds. He won his first fight in Halifax in 1886, and the following year left Nova Scotia for Boston, Massachusetts, hoping for glory and riches. He found both, but it all ended up being a bit more than he could handle. Okay, ended up being a bit more than Little Chocolate could handle when he went to Boston. Once in Boston, it didn't take long for Dixon to establish himself as a boxer of exceptional talent. Just 3 years after leaving Nova Scotia, he claimed the featherweight championship of the world. And the following year, he annexed the bantamweight title. While champion, Dixon, despite the fact he was a victim of racial discrimination on numerous occasions, gained wide recognition as one of the finest boxers in the world, bar none. Sam Austin, editor of one of the more popular boxing magazines of the time, Police Gazette, rated Dixon as a fighter without flaw. And in the June 27, 1900 edition of the same magazine, there was featured a photograph captioned, "Characteristic fighting pose of the greatest pugilist the world ever saw." No less an authority than Nat Fleischer, founder of the Ring magazine, described Dixon as a marvel of cleverness, fast, tricky, combative, canny, courageous, a master in every respect of the art of self-defense, a great ring general. Both Fleischer and renowned historian Charlie Rose ranked Little Chocolate as the greatest bantamweight of all time. Okay, that's high praise. Nat Fleischer, founder of Ring magazine, Charlie Rose, renowned historian. Both called George Dixon the greatest bantamweight of all time. Now, a complete boxer, Dixon possessed excellent power in both hands and the ability to both box with technical aplomb or chase and batter his opponent into submission. His superior quickness and excellent footwork allowed him to spring at opponents like a cat behind a sharp left jab and a jarring right to the body. One of his favorite tactics was to feint an opponent out of position before rushing him to the ropes and scoring with hard body blows. Okay, nobody was feinting and doing all that kind of stuff in the 1800s. It was just come out there and go toe to toe. There was no such thing as feinting. Yup, George Dixon. George Dixon. Little Chocolate from Nova Scotia, Canada. Okay. In addition to being one of the first and finest technical boxers, Dixon is credited for a number of important innovations and for being a huge influence on many of the greats who followed, including Jack Johnson and Joe Yans. Dixon invented the common training practice of shadow boxing. He is regarded as the first pro boxer of note to work with a punching bag suspended by a chain or rope. Invented shadow boxing, the punching bag. His understanding of the correct stance and footwork, as well as how to combine telling blows from both fists, was all ahead of his time, right? He remains arguably the fight game's first true master. As remarkable as Dixon's career was, his official boxing record does not accurately reflect his achievement. While it gives Dixon credit for 151 fights, his manager claimed he fought more than 800. Yeah, because record keeping wasn't too accurate back then. He probably did fight 800. If true, this would make him the most active boxer in history. Additionally, many of his official losses were no doubt the result of racial prejudice. On numerous occasions, Dixon had to contend with racist ring officials and hostile audiences. Historian Tracy Callis has stated that Dixon won nearly 90% of the draws and losses on his record. But due to various reasons, he did not get credit. As further evidence, the September 30th, 1893 Police Gazette states that nearly every time Dixon has been pitted against a champion, no matter whether foreign or native, the majority has named Dixon the loser, probably through prejudice, owing to his color. Yet, he has won. For example, his fight with the great Abe Batelli in 1901 stands as a draw on official records, while newspaper accounts depict a contest which Dixon clearly got the better of. Clearly got the better of. Wait a minute. Oh, there we go. But despite such difficulties, Dixon enjoyed one of the longest and most successful championship runs in boxing history. He engaged in at least 23 world title fights, a record that remained unbroken until the reign of Joe Louis more than 40 years later. As a result, Dixon achieved the kind of renown a little kid growing up in Nova Scotia could have only dreamed of. In fact, by the time of that showdown with Fattel, Little Chocolate was on the downside of his career, and it wasn't entirely because of the passage of time. Amazingly, Dixon had managed to maintain his hectic fight schedule and long reign while rarely resisting temptation, living the high life of a famous champion and celebrity. When George finally retired in 1906, he was an alcoholic, and he died less than 3 years later. Sadly, sadder still, at the time of his death, he was penniless. It is estimated that Dixon burned through over $200,000 while living a high life on the road. And $200,000 when he was fighting, like late 1800s, early 1900s, that's millions in today's dollars, right? Dixon's life is both a tragic testament to the widespread racism of times past, as well as a cautionary tale. But transcending both his superlative boxing skills and ring achievement. Little Chocolate, George Dixon. Okay? So now let's talk about some other Canadian boxers. Okay? Yeah. Let's talk about some other boxers from Canada. 3 o'clock on the dot. Wow. Okay. Yeah, some other boxers from Canada now. Take a look at them. Don't forget, tomorrow is the life and career of Prince Nassim Hamed. Okay? Life and career of the Prince. But right now, some other boxers from Canada. Bruce Gass, Boxing, Jazz, and More. Salute, Bruce Gass. How are you today? We're just looking at boxing in Canada today. Now we're getting ready. We just looked at George Dixon, a.k.a. Little Chocolate, famous boxer from Nova Scotia up there in Canada. And now we're going to look at some other boxers, some other great Canadian boxers. Excuse me for 1 second. Get some other great boxers. Free country of Canada. It's Thursday. Yeah, I believe we got some Friday night fighting this weekend. Tomorrow. Yeah. Okay. What happened to my chat? There we go. No, it don't. Not in the amateurs, it don't technically. We're gonna get to that too. Talk about we're gonna talk about the 76 Olympics too. That was in Canada, Montreal. But here's some other great boxers that came from Canada. Let me bring this laptop up so I hope it ain't too much noise. That wasn't too bad, was it? On y'all, I just slid it forward. So, yeah, some other boxers from Canada. Now, Canada has produced some of the greatest boxers in history, with several capturing world titles in multiple divisions. Boxers like Donnie Lalonde, George Dixon, and John Pascal have represented Canada with success in the boxing ring. Now, the legacy of Canadian boxers like Adonis Stevenson, George Chuvalo, and Lennox Lewis continues to inspire fans and future fighters. Now, Canada is not usually known for boxing as other sports such as hockey, right? However, it doesn't mean that there's no love for boxing in Canada. And a few of the greatest fighters in history have roots back in Canada, right? Yeah. Canadian boxers have made significant contributions to the sport of boxing, with several achieving international acclaim. Many of the best have captured world titles in multiple divisions. Many of the Great White North, making the Great White North one of the best nations of fighters, okay? Let's start out with Donnie Lalonde. Donnie Lalonde, talking about some boxers from Canada. There's not Donnie. There's Donnie. There's Don. Wait a minute now. There he is, on the left. Fighting Sugar Ray Leonard. Remember that one? Yep, 76, Bruce. Yep, 1976. Donnie Lalonde captured the WBC light heavyweight title. He knocked Sugar Ray Leonard down. Yep, he sure did. Now, Donnie Lalonde, nicknamed Golden Boy, was a Canadian pro boxer who achieved notable success in the light heavyweight division. Turning pro in 1980, he quickly rose through the ranks with his powerful punching and aggressive style. Lalonde's crowning achievement came in 1987 when he won the WBC light heavyweight title with a second-round knockout of Eddie Davis. He successfully defended the title once before losing it to Sugar Ray Leonard in a memorable 1988 fight. Donnie Lalonde, okay? Then we have Donovan Razor Ruddock. Yeah, that was Razor Ruddock that I went to when I wanted to go to Donnie. There's Donovan Razor Ruddock right there. Donovan Razor Ruddock had a rivalry with Iron Mike Tyson. He was known for a smash punch. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, heavyweight contender Donovan Razor Ruddock held a high ranking. He was well known for his potent left hook and uppercut combination, nicknamed the Smash. In 1982, he turned pro and won his first 10 fights. His first loss came in his 11th fight, when journeyman David Jocko dropped him. After that loss, however, wait a minute. He went on to win his next 3 fights before beating former WBA heavyweight champion Mike Weaver in August 1986. In May 1986, Ruddock bagged the Canadian heavyweight title after knocking out Ken Lacusta in a single round win. Ruddock returned to the ring in February 1992 after his non-title fight with Mike Tyson, stopping former WBA heavyweight champion Greg Page before knocking out Phil Jackson in 4 rounds in June to capture the vacant IBC heavyweight championship. After defeating Edgerton Marcus in 10 rounds to claim the vacant Canadian heavyweight championship in 2001, Ruddock announced his retirement. Donovan Razor Ruddock. Okay. John Pascal. On the right. John Pascal was a light heavyweight champion. The Haitian-born boxer represented Canada as a middleweight at the 2004 Olympics in Athens, Greece. Yes, he did. John Pascal, better known as John Pascal, made his pro debut in February 2005 and would go on to hold the WBC, IBO, Ring Magazine, and Lineal light heavyweight titles between 2009 and 2011, even competing for the WBC super middleweight title in 2008. He also had the WBA light heavyweight title from 2019 to 2021. Pascal, who was 21-0 at the time, faced up against British boxer Carl Froch for the vacant WBC super middleweight title. Following his defeat, Pascal took on Pablo Daniel Zamora on April 4th, 2009, winning by 5th round knockout to claim the vacant WBO Intercontinental Super Middleweight Championship. In June 2009, Pascal transitioned to the light heavyweight category to take on WBC light heavyweight champion Adrian Diacono. Pascal prevailed in the contest and took home the championship following a unanimous decision. Later in September 2009, Pascal made his maiden defense of his WBC light heavyweight championship against the WBC's seasoned Italian veteran Silvio Branco, and he successfully did so by stopping Branco in the 10th round. Pascal beat Arturo Boxing in 2017 with a record of 32 wins, 5 losses, 1 draw, 19 knockouts. Adonis Stevenson. Here's Adonis. Adonis Stevenson had exceptional punching power. Stevenson won Knockout of the Year in 2013. Yes, he did. Though short, Adonis Stevenson's career was a classic one. In 2013, he knocked out Chad Dawson to win the WBC, Ring Magazine, and lineal light heavyweight titles. This victory earned him the ring honors for Fighter of the Year and Knockout of the Year. Stevenson was regarded as one of boxing's toughest punchers at his peak. He was renowned for his quick hand speed and outstanding knockout power. He successfully defended the WBC and lineal belts 10 times over more than 5 years until suffering potentially fatal brain damage in his 2018 fight with Alexander Gvozdyk. Okay, go back a ways now. Jack Delaney. Canadian boxers. Jack Delaney. Jab Queen Boxing in the building. Salute, Jab Queen. We just talking about some boxing in Canada today. Every Thursday we do a different country going in alphabetical order. But salute Jab Queen Boxing. Great channel. Anybody not subscribed, please take it. Subscribe to Jab Queen Boxing. Salute. You're just looking at some boxers from Canada now. Jack Delaney. Now, Jack Delaney was a star boxer. He was the world light heavyweight boxing champion. Jack was. He was born Ovilla, Chapter Lane. Jack Delaney was a heavyweight contender and the world's light heavyweight boxing champion. He was well known for his exquisite, nearly faultless moves in the ring. He was a skilled boxer with a swift and fluid left hand. Delaney began his career as a pro in 1919, defeating Paul Berlenbach to capture the World Light Heavyweight Championship in June 1926. He did, however, give up his championship a year later without defending it to pursue a heavyweight career. Jimmy Maloney, a veteran heavyweight challenger whom Delaney was predicted to easily defeat, was his opponent. Delaney would have faced heavyweight champion Gene Tunney if he had prevailed over Maloney in that fight. With a record of 77 wins, 44 by knockout, 12 losses, 2 ties, 2 no decisions, and 2 no contests. Thus, Delaney retired. And here's the toughest fighter of all time, in my opinion. George Chuvalo. There's George Chuvalo. He fought in the golden age, the 70s. He was a multi-time Canadian champion. Never won a regular title, but he fought in the golden age. Now, George Chuvalo was a 2-time contender for the heavyweight world title, as well as a 5-time Canadian heavyweight champion. Chuvalo was known for his endurance inside the ring, as he was never knocked down by an opponent, 93 fights. Despite fighting 93 pro fights, which included fights against some of the greatest boxers of all time, Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, and Joe Frazier, he fought until the last bell and lost his fights by decision. Now, he did lose 2 by TKO, 1 on cuts to Joe Frazier and 1 TKO stoppage to George Foreman. So that ain't nothing to hang your head about getting stopped by George Foreman. But he was on his feet. Boom Boom Chuvalo, a heavyweight boxer who entered the pro ranks in 1956. When a competition in Toronto was put on by former world champion Jack Dempsey by knocking out 4 opponents in a single fight, right? After first retiring in 1973, Chuvalo made a return in 1977 to challenge Bob Feldstein for the vacant Canadian heavyweight championship. Now, Chuvalo won the championship for a 4th time after knocking Feldstein out in the 9th round. Chuvalo won his next 2 fights by knockout before officially retiring. Chuvalo racked up a 73-win, 18-loss, 2-draw record throughout his 21-year career, including 64 knockout victories, and that's 87%. And 50%, 32 of those 64 knockouts were 10 count on the mat knockouts, okay? That's showing one hit of quitter power there. 50% of his knockouts was on the mat, out for 10 count, okay? Jimmy McLaurin. There's Jimmy. He's one of Canada's finest boxers. The Irish-born boxer was a 2-time welterweight world champion. Yes, he was. Jimmy McLaurin. At age 3, Jimmy McLaurin moved to Canada with his family from Ireland. Now, both of McLaurin's fists were incredibly powerful, but his right one was the most dreaded. In May 1928, McLaurin lost his first attempt at winning the championship against world lightweight champion Sammy Mandel. He did, however, manage to defeat Mandel twice over the next 2 years. Now, McLaurin faced welterweight champion Young Corbett III in his second title defense. With almost 3 minutes into the fight, McLaurin won through knockout. Okay. After winning the title, McLaurin faced Barney Ross in a thrilling 3-fight series. Yeah, that's another trilogy we're going to cover on a Monday. Ross prevailed in the first contest, which took place on May 28, 1934, but McLaurin reclaimed the championship in the fight that followed 4 years later. Okay? No, 4 months later, excuse me. On May 28, 1935, McLaurin lost his title in the rubber match by a razor-thin margin. McLaurin won his final 2 fights against legends Tony Canzonieri and Lou Amber, and retired in November 1936, still at the peak of his career. And of course, Sam Langford, the Boston Bone Crusher. But he was from Canada, moved to Boston during his career. Yeah. Sam Langford is the greatest fighter nobody knows. Never won a title. He had the colored championship. But Jack Johnson, Jack Dempsey, none of them would fight Sam Langford. And he was just about blind. And Jack Dempsey would have been giving up 30, 40 pounds to Jack Dempsey. And Jack Dempsey admitted after his career there was one fighter he would never fight, Sam Langford, because he said he knew Sam Langford would flatten him. Jack Dempsey said he was scared of Sam Langford. And Jack Johnson never admitted it, but he wouldn't give him a title shot either. Mm-hmm. His punching power is compared to Mike Tyson's. And this man was a middleweight. His highest weight ever was 185 one time, but normally he fought between 150 and 160. Many boxing historians rank Sam Langford, termed the greatest fighter nobody knows, as one of the sport's all-time best fighters. Known as the Boston Bone Crusher, he competed in weight classes ranging from lightweight all the way up to heavyweight, where he beat several legends and world champions of his period. Langford was ranked number 2 by the Ring on their list of the 100 greatest punchers of all time. Number 2, okay? And fought usually 150 to 160. Number 2 puncher of all time by Ring Magazine. Now, due to the color barrier and Jack Johnson's unwillingness to challenge him in a rematch, the first African-American world heavyweight champion was denied the opportunity to compete in the numerous world championships. Yeah, Jack Johnson, the first black world champion, would not give this man his shot at the world heavyweight title. Jack Johnson always said 2 black fighters wouldn't draw at the gate. Langford also defeated the then lightweight champion Joe Gans in a non-title fight. Gans was the first black American world champion in boxing history and is recognized as one of the all-time greats. Jack Johnson, the first black world heavyweight champion, claimed the matchup with Langford and other black heavyweights wouldn't bring crowds because white champions had drawn the color line. And so Sam Langford never received his title shot. He did have the colored title championship, though. They had that in every weight class too back then. Tommy Burns. Yeah, he was the man that Jack Johnson originally won the championship from. Tommy Burns, when he first won it. And Burns is the only Canadian-born world heavyweight boxing champion. Okay. Only Canadian-born world heavyweight boxing champion. Wow. You're the only world heavyweight boxing champion who was born in Canada. Tommy Burns. Burns completed 13 championship defenses against 11 different fighters, becoming the first to defend this title while traveling the world, despite frequently being the underdog owing to his stature. Burns defeated every opponent he faced as heavyweight champion, which led to his illustrious fight with the American-born Jack Johnson. That's when he lost it. Burns finally consented to a battle with Johnson in December 1908 after months of postponing the arrangement, making him the first boxer to accept the heavyweight title match with a Black American. Burns lost his championship in the Sydney match. They fought in Australia. In the 14th of 23-minute rounds, the fight was declared over because Burns was unable to continue and failed to strike a punch. He became the first Canadian to win the heavyweight world championship in 1906 by defeating Marvin Hart. After his loss against Johnson, he didn't stop fighting until 1920. Got a couple more. And then, since we're talking about Canada, we're going to take a look at the 1976 Olympics and that great American team. But Arturo Gatti. Arturo was an all-action fighter. He won world titles in, I think it was 3 weight classes. One of the most thrilling boxers in history was Arturo Gatti, known as the Blood and Guts Warrior, or Thunder Gatti. Gatti achieved world titles in 2 separate weight divisions. Gatti went pro at the age of 19 after competing for Canada in the 1991 World Junior Championships in Peru. In 1995, Gatti defeated Tracy Harris Patterson to win the IBF Junior Lightweight Championship. That was Floyd Patterson's son. And with that win, he became the first person to hold a championship. Yeah, junior lightweight. Now, Gatti had to stand up during his first defense against Wilson Rodriguez's 6 thrilling rounds, right? Following 3 successful championship defenses, Gatti gave up the belt in 1998 and switched to lightweight. After losing 3 exhausting battles in a row, several urged Gatti to retire, but he continued. He went up to junior welterweight and won 4 straight fights before Oscar De La Hoya outclassed him at welterweight and stopped him. Moreover, Gatti's trilogy with Mickey Ward remains one of the great rivalries in boxing history. We talked about that Monday, remember? The 2 squared off in their first clash in 2002 when Irish Mickey beat Gatti by majority decision. And remember that fight, Gatti got up from a liver shot. You don't see that too often. And not only did he get up from the liver shot in the 9th round, he won the 10th round. Got up from a liver shot and won the next round. That's crazy. Wow. In 2005, Gatti faced off against the esteemed Floyd Mayweather Jr. in his 3rd defense. That was bad. Mayweather thoroughly controlled the fight until Gatti's corner stopped it after the 6th round. And Gatti was no match for him. After being defeated by Alfonso Gomez, Gatti announced his retirement in 2007. And then in 2009, he died under suspicious circumstances. Artur Beterbiev, he was born in Russia, but he has Canadian citizenship now. What's up, Al Booger, in the building? Yeah, we're going to get some link time about 3:30. I want to cover this 1976 Olympics after this. But Beterbiev punishes all his opponents. You know, he born in Russia, but now has Canadian citizenship. He was the first light heavyweight 4-belt undisputed champion, but then he lost it to Bivol, remember? And he, I think he won his first 20 fights by knockout. Before lost 20 or 21 before Bivol went the distance with him. And then finally, Lennox Lewis. He competed as an amateur in Canada, but when he turned pro, Lennox went back to the Great Britain where he was born at. And Great Britain was kind of bitter too. First they told him, take your ass on back to Canada. That's where you wanted to be at. Yeah. Lennox Lewis is one of the greatest heavyweights ever. Yeah, Lennox. Yeah, born in Great Britain, but moved to Canada as a youngster. I think he was about 11 or something like that. Then he went back to Great Britain after his amateur career. Let's look at these Olympics. 76 Olympics. Okay. And then we're going to get some link time. Yeah, I wanted to go over that real quick. Those Olympics, the United States had that amazing team in 76. Remember that one? That was crazy. Let's talk about it. I think.
Yeah, it really was.
Shut up, phone. They started talking to me. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, this was America's stellar team of boxing. Gold medal glory. Okay. Sugar Ray. Now, Ray Leonard was joined by Michael and Leon Spinks as a talented crop of American boxers achieved gold medal success at the 1976 Montreal Olympics. Okay? Now, 11 boxers traveled from the United States to Montreal in 1976, all with dreams of capturing Olympic gold. Just a few weeks later, they returned as one of the greatest amateur boxing teams ever assembled. America's squad was made up of Louis Curtis, Leo Randolph, Charles Mooney, David Lee Armstrong, Howard Davis, Ray Leonard, Clint Jackson, Charles Walker Jr., Michael Spinks, Leon Spinks, and Big John Tate. Yeah, we're talking about Canada today, and this Olympics happened in Canada. Now, they were led by Pat Nappy, an American of Italian descent, who had spent an extensive period coaching the U.S. Army team, right? Now, within the team, there were varying occupations. Leon Spinks was a Marine. Charles Mooney was an Army sergeant, and Leo Randolph was still in high school, okay? Leo was still in high school. Now, results of the 21st Olympiad were not without the usual disappointments and controversy that Olympic boxing often brings. Now, Curtis was the first boxer from the team eliminated, suffering defeat in the opening round. Walker Jr., he was the hard luck story, losing to the eventual gold medalist, while Armstrong and Jackson won their first few fights before being eliminated prior to the medal stages. Yeah, you can't have no Olympics. They're hard on Americans in those international competitions, too. Yes, they are. Okay, there's Sugar Ray again. But all 7 of the others managed to medal, with Randolph, Davis, Leonard, and the Spinks brothers all bagging gold. Mooney secured a silver, while Big John Tate was unfortunately runner-up to one of the greatest amateur heavyweight boxers ever, Teofilo Stevenson. Yeah, Tate got silver. He wasn't going to beat Teofilo. No, Tate got the bronze. Tate had to settle for the bronze after meeting Teofilo in the semifinal stage. There was Howard Davis, who was voted as the best boxer of the whole tournament. He was an outstanding boxer, Howard Davis. While Sugar Ray Leonard won every one of his fights 5-0. Okay, Sugar Ray threw a shutout every fight. 5 gold medals, a silver medal, and a bronze medal in just one Olympics remains a proud achievement. Now, in the previous 3 Olympics before that, the United States had only won 4 gold medals. And the great Joe Louis, Joe Frazier, and the great George Foreman had 2 of them, right? Now, for some of the team, this was the highlight of their boxing careers. Others went on to assemble phenomenal pro careers. that outshone the amateur achievements, right? Yep, and there's Leon, right? Yeah, Leon beat Ali as a 7-fight novice. 7 fights into his career beat Ali, remember? Now, Mooney remained in the Army, continuing to gain success in the amateur ranks. But Armstrong, Jackson, and Walker Jr. had low-key professional careers. Davis certainly underachieved, failing to win an expected world title, right? And losing to Scotland's Jim Watt along the way. However, Randolph went on to win the WBA Super Bantamweight title, while Big John Tate took the WBA World Heavyweight title. Leon Spinks achieved the same feat, shocking the boxing world by beating undisputed champion Muhammad Ali as a 7-fight novice, right? Michael Spinks is regarded as one of the greatest light heavyweights ever. And he also beat another heavyweight great in Larry Holmes to become a 2-weight world champion at heavyweight. Spinks did, yeah. I don't think he beat Holmes in either one of those fights, though. But the judges did. That's what counts, right? And Sugar Ray Leonard, of course, added sugar to the start of his name and lifted world titles in 5 weight divisions during a glittering pro career. Now, some argue the Olympic team of 1984 outshone their 1976 predecessors, but an asterisk should clearly appear when talking about the 84 team, right? Now, 84 had 9 gold medals, 1 silver and 1 bronze. 18 countries, including, but in 84, 18 countries, including the Soviet Union and Cuba, boycotted the 1984 Games, a key factor when you consider 5 of the 7 medalists in 1976 fought a boxer from one of these 2 countries in the gold medal round. But the Russians wasn't there in 84. So if the Russians and Cubans had been there in 84, I don't think the United States would have had no 9 gold medals, okay? But of course, the United States boycotted the Olympics in Russia in 1980. So of course, they wasn't coming to Los Angeles in 84. And their closest ally, Cuba, wasn't coming either. But yeah, when you talk about all those, 84 had more gold medals than 76, but you gotta remember, Russia and Cuba was not there in 84. They wouldn't have had nowhere near 9. I don't think, And the 76 games were boycotted by various African countries, but it would be fair to assume that this would not have affected the medal picture as severely as the 84 boycotts, right? Russia and Cuba. This is not to downplay the quality of team at the Los Angeles Games in 84. After all, it included boxers such as Evander Holyfield, Preno Sweet Whitaker, Virgil Hill, Terrell Biggs, Meldrick Taylor, Mark Breland. They had a great team. In summary, what happened in 1976 against some stellar opponents was astonishing, emphasized by the fact that in 2016, since then, the United States cupboard has been bare as far as gold medals. In 2016, they did not win a gold medal at all, right? But hopefully the United States will get their groove back in the amateurs and start getting them gold medals again, okay? But let's get some link time in. Anybody welcome to hit the link, come up and talk some boxing, okay? Let's do that. Okay. But how's that? I think we got some boxing tomorrow, some Friday night boxing this week, right? Yeah. I know the big ones are Nick Bowlingball and Sam Goodman. And then we got Raymond Ford and Abraham Nova. That might be the fight of the weekend. And then the youngster, Itama, gonna have his biggest test to date, Dillian White. I think Itama gets him out of there. Late middle round. 8 or 9. I really do. I think Itama will stop White. But it will be a good test for the youngster. A big name, big scalp on his resume moving forward. Yeah, Dillian White. And then he can step it on up after that, further and further, Get past that one. Yeah. Moses Itama. Good young fighter. He's UK, right? United States covered his bear as far as we got that guy Edwards that fought a couple of weeks ago, but he's just 2 or 3 fights. But yeah, we got hope. We got hope on the horizon because the cupboard is real big as far as American heavyweights. Wow. But yeah, that guy Edwards, 2 years or so, he looked like he might do something. He was in there with that guy that he was clearly way more skilled than he did what he was supposed to do. He got him out of there. Like a minute something? So yeah, you get somebody in there that your skills are high, way higher above the net, you're supposed to get him out of there quick. And that's what he did. He didn't play with his food. Okay? Did not play with his food. Okay, here goes the link. All are welcome to tap on that link right there. Yeah, Jab Queen. Things have really changed since that time. A lot like night and day. That is a great point. Tomorrow, this week, Friday, our profile is going to be the life and career of Prince Nassim Hamed. We're going to talk about the Prince tomorrow. Yeah. And his exploits. He rode the flying carpet on down there. I got video of that too. Rode the motorcycle. He used to do those little flips over the ropes into the ring. Yeah. So yeah, that's gonna be a pretty good profile. And then Monday, we got a good trilogy Monday. We're gonna talk about the Marco Antonio Barrera and Eric Morales trilogy. That was a good one. They battled. They didn't like each other that much either during their careers, but I think they do a podcast or something together now. Yeah. You battle like that, you can't help but get a certain respect for each other, And they had some serious battles. I believe Barrera won that trilogy 2-1, I think. A lot of people say it should have been 3-0 because Morales got the first fight, but yeah. A lot of people say it could have went to Barrera. It could have, but you can't be mad for Morales getting it either because it was a very good fight. Wonder where Perro at. I wonder what he thought about that one. I never talked to him about the Morales and Barrera fight. That first one. Morales got, but Barrera got the second two. Those are the 4 kings of the 2000s. Eric Morales, Marco Antonio Barrera, Juan Manuel Marquez, and Manny Pacquiao. They fought each other. They had 13 fights between those 4. Only combination didn't meet who was it now? Al Booger? I can't remember. Was it Morales and Marquez? Was it only 2 of those 4 that didn't fight? Out of all 4 of them, only one combination didn't happen, right? Those guys actually got in there and mixed it up. That's what's happening, Yeah. 13 fights between them. Those were the 4 kings of the 2000s. Yeah. Those guys. Let me see. I thought this is going to last a little bit longer, but yeah. The Prince tomorrow. Let me look at these cards. Because I think we got boxing. It's a whole bunch of boxing this weekend. I mean, a whole bunch of boxing. We are going to be busy. Let's take a look. Get the schedule up here. Just Do Boxing is up next with that balanced, unbiased boxing talk. Everybody gets to Just Do Boxing. Boxing schedule. I forgot. Abraham Nova and Raymond Ford. Is that the co-main on the Nick Ball card or the The Tama White card. I'm gonna find out in a minute. Somebody said it was the Tama White card, but I thought it was the other one, the Nick Ball card. But yeah, I could be wrong. Oh, here we go right here. Okay. Yeah, tomorrow is the 15th. Yeah, we got some boxing from Santa Ynez, California. Oh, that's UFC. How did I get UFC? I want boxing. Oh, they got both. Yeah, Ford and Nova is on the Nick Ball and Sam Goodman card. But tomorrow night, yeah, Pro Box. It's Friday this week. We got Pro Box. We got a card from Beijing, China. That's 2. The third one was UFC. I said 3, but the third one was UFC. That's the 15th. And then Saturday is the 16th from Riyadh. That's the Nick Bowling Ball and Sam Langford. Sam Goodman. I don't know why I keep... We just talked about Sam Langford from Canada, remember? Sam Goodman. Okay, yeah. I got... Oh, man, I don't know about that. I don't know too much about Goodman. Yeah. So I don't know. Nick Bowling Ball is a, come forward pressure guy, but he is short, small, man. Any other champions at 126, Nick Bowling Ball gonna have a problem, man. Especially him and what did he do against Espinoza? Espinoza is like 6'1". Imagine him and Nick Ball. What is Nick Ball, like 4'11" or something? But wow. Espinoza could just stand outside and have a field day with him. Although Espinoza likes to go inside and mix it up, though. But yeah, I can't see Nick Ball beating any of the other champions at 126. But hey, on paper don't mean nothing. You got to do it in the ring. Him and Raymond Ford fight. I thought Raymond Ford stayed at 126. One fight too long. Although I did pick Nick Ball. I did pick Nick Ball to win that one against Ford. And then when I saw the fight, I thought Ford had pulled it out. But yeah. But you couldn't be mad. You couldn't call it a robbery. It was just a very good fight between those two that night. Yeah, Nick Ball and Sam Goodman is tomorrow. Nova and Ford. That should be good, but I got Nova. Oh, they all on the same card. I thought Tom and White was the main event. That's on that card. Wow. Okay. The Zone. Yeah, okay. I'm thinking it's 2 different cards. All that's the same. So yeah, that's Saturday. So that's a pretty good card. Looking forward to it. Ford and Nova is good matchmaking. I think Ford probably pull a decision out though. Yeah. Nova kind of like gas tank fails him sometimes late, and Ford with that slick boxing. I'll be able to outbox, outscore. UD, competitive unanimous decision. I'll say it that way. Competitive unanimous decision to Ray Ford. Saturday. Okay, let's move on. The next weekend, nothing real big name. But we're getting close to September 13th. Know what happened then? Matter of fact, almost exactly a month away. Today's the 14th. That's Bud and Canelo. I'm leaning Canelo, but I don't know, man. I just think it's a lot. I would have liked to see Bud in a fight at 168, against somebody else. But then, Bud wouldn't do that because he messed around and lose. Then the Canelo fight is off the table. He'd take a tune up and lose, he blew the big fight. So yeah. He going straight to that Canelo money. I don't blame him. And Bud probably gonna exit stage right after that fight. Yeah, I don't blame him. Career payday. I got Canelo body stitching. Canelo ain't been stopping nobody lately. I think it's been like 2021 since Canelo stopped somebody? Something like that. I thought he could have got Jaime and Hector Berlanga out of there. Mm-hmm. He just showed him, look, I can knock him down, and then curved him the distance. Bud ain't gonna do like Mel though. Bud's gonna get there and compete, you know. You're not gonna get that first big shot from Canelo and pack it in like Mel did. Bud's gonna be up in there competing. Might pull it off. Okay, yeah, Canelo haven't stopped anyone since. They don't even have, let's see, it's been a minute. Wow. This don't even have the dates on it. Did it stop Joe Smith? It might have been Joe Smith. Let me check over here. Yeah, we get ready to get up out of here. Just Do Boxing is up next, but I appreciate everybody that came through today. Don't forget, tomorrow is the Prince, Nassim Hamed, Life and Career of Prince Nassim Hamed. It's a good one too. I was reading over it this morning. Yeah. And the Prince used to blow up between fights. I got to be before and after, man. Wow. He used to put on a lot of weight when he was out of camp, man. So he used to have fat camp. Man, I'm talking 60, 70, 80 pounds. He was an old fat boy when he wasn't in camp. Man, I got some before and after pictures tomorrow. Yeah. It was crazy how the Prince used to blow up. He definitely did not have no, oh man. He didn't have that perfect weight where you come in and to camp and you don't have to worry about trying to take the weight off. Just the natural progression of training camp will take it off. Come in at your ideal weight, you know. The Prince. Okay. We're trying to find out when the last time Canelo stopped somebody. I pulled up his box rec on that tablet. It didn't even have the dates. I mean, it didn't have the years. It just had the month. That's crazy. Let's see if this got the years on it. It's been a minute. I think it was 2021. But we got to be sure. Didn't give out no bad information. Yeah, but we got some fire trilogies coming up on Mondays, you know. This week is Barrera and Morales. We got the Boy in the Holyfield trilogy. We're gonna do some of the 4-fight series too, like Manny and Marquez. Then we had the trilogy way back between Canzoneri and Rocky Graciano and Tony Canzoneri. We had 4-fight series, Willie Pep and Sandy Sadler. That was a doozy there. Their 4th fight is called the dirtiest fight of all time. They kept wrestling, going to the mat. One time they took the referee to the mat with them. It was terrible. They both got fined, both got suspended after that fight. But then they became best of friends after their careers. They used to go around doing exhibitions, speaking together. That's when I saw Sandy Sadler. He had that dementia pugilistica bad, man. It was so bad that they were standing there, him and Willie Pep, at the podium talking, and people was asking them questions, and they would ask Sandy something about the fights. Willie Pep would have to answer for him. Sandy was just couldn't even make himself understood. He had that dementia pugilistica so bad, man. Yeah. And they say every boxer suffers from that. some to less extent, but they say 100% of boxers suffer some level of brain damage in their careers. Some not noticeable, some is way worse, but every boxer. And they say the worst damage is done in sparring, right? The worst damage is done in sparring. I guess because you're working on stuff. Like Willie Pep was one of the greatest defensive boxers of all time, but he died from dementia pugilistica. From sparring, probably. Because he hardly ever got hit in his fights. But sparring, you're working on stuff. And sometimes you're letting people hit you and stuff, you know. But yeah. Willie Pep. He died from dementia pugilistica. But yeah, Sandy was bad. It was sad too. Joe Frazier. Late in his life, around the time of his death, Joe Frazier would talk. His speech was so bad, it was like he was talking with an accent. That's how bad Smoking Joe was. At the end, it's almost like he had an accent. Yeah, 2021. The last one Canelo stopped was Caleb Plant. No, not Caleb. Well, yeah, 11th round. Yeah, Caleb Plant. Was that long ago, 2021? Wow, time is flying. Yeah. November 6th, 2021. Wow, that's when that fight was. Man, I did not know that was that long ago, but that was the last one he stopped. 2021. Old Sweet Hands. Yeah. Old Sweet Hands Plant was the last one Canelo stopped, 2021. And then since then, he's had 7 fights since then. He's had Triple G. He had Triple G twice. No. Yeah, the Triple G, that was 2022. It don't seem like that long ago, the last Triple G fight. But he's had Triple G, John Ryder, Jamel Charlo, Jaime Munguia, Edgar Berlanga, William Skull. Since then, stopped none of them. Okay? Yeah, Canelo never been a big stoppage guy, no way. Really. 63 wins, he just got 39 knockouts. And that's a rate of that's a knockout rate of 63. So yeah. 61%. So you can't make a really big deal out of Canelo not stopping anybody all the time. He ain't never really been a big stoppage guy. 60% knockout ratio. 24 by decision. So yeah. And I don't think he'll stop Bud. Bud definitely ain't stopping him. The good bet is 12 rounds. Canelo by competitive 12-round decision. That's what I'm betting. Right now. It might change. But right now, I got Canelo by competitive 12-round decision in that one. But okay, I appreciate everybody that stopped through today. Tomorrow is the life and career of Prince Naseem Hamed. Okay? So today we had Al Booger, Jab Queen Boxing, Bruce Gas Boxing, Jazz and more, Mike Mazik, Technique, Sunny Boy Boxing, Mike Rim, Thomas Hill, and Miss Cass. In here. Okay? Just Do Boxing is up next. This is Cass Sports. Prince Naseem Hamed tomorrow. Everybody have a great afternoon. I'll holler at y'all tomorrow. I appreciate your jab, Queen.